Hello YouTubers, this is PrivateCitizen coming at you today. I'm doing a review of the TCMT handlebar risers. This is my first time also having a setup actually on the bike out riding. I did get a request from Ranger 498 asking for a review of the handlebar riser, so I figured, hey, why not start now and give it a try. I hooked up a old set of earphone jacks from Apple. I cut off the actual earphone pieces and just kept the microphone. I saw that online as a way to capture the audio, so hopefully that'll work. And I'm using two iPhone cameras, an old 6S that I had and an iPhone 8, I believe. Alright, so on to the review. So I did notice right away, just like backing up out of the garage, it seemed like it was easier when I was steering. You're trying to try to maneuver out of the garage. It seemed like I guess having the handlebars closer to me, or having it, closer to my body, seemed like it made it easier. That could just be in my mind though, but that's what I felt. Out on the road, however, I did notice that it's very comfortable. It seems like everybody's right in their other reviews, saying that you can sit more upright, because I can sit more upright. I notice I'm more relaxed against the back pad, the backrest. It's really a lot more comfortable. So I would say it's definitely worth it, especially for $29 delivered. You can't really beat that. Would I do it again? Yes, most definitely. I didn't have any clearance issues. Sometimes they say that there's a clearance issue and you have to adjust the amount for the control panel that has all the buttons. But for me, it seemed like it's working fine, so I didn't have to do any of that. It's a little warm right now. It's about, well, I guess not too warm. According to the bike, it's 78 degrees. But it's humid. It's supposed to rain later on today. Passing some blueberry farms. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, all in all, it's definitely comfortable. A more upright position. My arms are more towards like right angles, 90 degrees. As opposed to being out in front of me. I haven't done any like super long rides with it yet. I haven't like gone like hours plus. I did do a ride for about 20 minutes to a half hour the other day, up to a Home Depot and back. That was about 25 minutes, like I said, each way. And I noticed it then that it was really comfortable. Again, a lot of these things, like, I wouldn't be too intimidated. Like, if you got the bike, you can get the service manuals online, and that pretty much walks you through anything you have any questions with. And I feel like if you take your time, you can do it yourself if you want to. If you're not comfortable with that, of course, you can always spend the money. You take it to a dealership or, mechanic or a friend you have that does work, and have them do it. I just don't think, you need to be afraid to do it. Now, one thing, it's kind of funny because I work on bikes like crazy, but when it comes to cars, other than, like brake pads, rotors, windshield wipers, I don't like get into the whole, like take apart and rebuild type thing. So I got to give it to the guys that, that do that, that take cars apart, like all the way down to the bare metal and put them back together. Now, I will tackle like small stuff like an alternator, things like that. But I never really messed with like, the internals of the engine, like the heads and things like that. I had a moped years ago, back when I was 15. It's a long time ago. And I took the engine apart, trying to see if I could find some way to make it faster. And I didn't know what I was doing, so I wound up messing up the pistons you know, with the rings. You know, I took it apart and took the rings off and put them on, and didn't know there was a certain way they were supposed to go back on to fit in the groove, and tried to force it in, and you know, scored the cylinder head and everything like that, the walls, cylinder walls. So that was pretty much it for me. Ever since then, I was like, I'm not really touching the engine part. So that's kind of like my limit. Outside of that, if I could figure it out, I'll try to tackle it at least. Yeah. And if you're thinking about getting a bike and you never had one before, this is a lot of bike, you know, especially for a first bike. I started with well, besides dirt bikes as a kid, my neighbor Jimmy, he had a YZ80, and he would, you know, let my brother and I ride it. That power band, it really gets you though. You gotta watch out. But anyway, so later on in life, I got a KZ440, and I rode that for a while. I had a Honda scooter. Of course, like I said, I had a moped. So then I wound up getting a ZX9. I bought that in '96. It was a leftover '94, and I kind of just worked my way up from there. Wound up getting a ZX14, and I really didn't ride it much. The guys I ride with, you know, they all wind up switching to cruisers, Harleys, and so you know, I spent more time in the garage than anywhere else. So I wound up selling it. Waited a couple years. I wanted to get a touring bike because, you know, I was getting, I'll say, up there in years, or maybe better said, more refined, and I wanted something a little bit more comfortable. So I just raised the windshield, so maybe that'll help get rid of some of the buffeting. But older and more refined. So I was tired of, you know, buying bikes. I keep buying them, then I fix them up, you know, put the exhaust on there, put the lights underneath, you know, all the little stuff that I want on there. I keep it for a few years, and then I wind up selling it, and you know, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I just want to get one bike that I can pretty much keep for the, you know, for the long haul, for the duration, and not keep switching, you know, go through the whole build process again, suspension, this and that. So the Goldwings came out, and the first thing I said was, yo, they're way too expensive. I cannot afford that. That's crazy. But then I waited a couple years, and they were giving really good deals on leftovers. And I had some other things, you know, happen that kind of freed up some money. So I was like, well, I'm not getting any younger. And at least on this earth, you only live once. In the flesh, that is. So I said, why not go for it? So the rest is history. I wound up calling a dealer, like a few states away. They had one. The price was right. Did my financing approval online, and the rest is history. The rest is history. So I will say, if you're thinking about putting on marker lights, the ones that's in the forks and on the saddlebags on the side, think about the Kuryakin. I really like the look of those. It's LEDs, but you can't actually see the individual LEDs when they're on. It's kind of like more like a glow to it. I think that really looks nice. I'll try to do a video later with bike walk around so that you can actually see, what they look like on the bike and all the little things that I've added. I did put on a traction dynamic suspension, front and rear shock, and that definitely improved the ride. Again, maybe because I was on sport bikes for so long, I kind of expected something a little more, on the crisp side. The other part is when I would ride with my wife, sometimes the suspension would bottom out. It was a little bit wobbly. So I would say at the very least, having the custom spring rate, right? So when you order them, you tell them, your weight, your rider's weight, and then they provide the shocks with springs, to accommodate that. So at the very least, that helped. I don't know if they sell the springs separately, like if you can just buy the springs and then put them on the stock shocks. That'll probably save you a lot of money. But I know it made a big difference for me. But I will say sometimes I miss the softness of the suspension. When I'm riding solo, it doesn't have as much give as you used to. So that's a little bit of a trade-off. But on highways, things like that, you don't feel it at all. But on bumpy roads, I don't think it absorbs the bumps as much as the original stock, especially if you have it in the tour setting. So now, if you didn't know, once you get the traction dynamics, it doesn't matter whether, once you get the traction dynamics suspension installed on your bike, it doesn't really matter whether you're in tour, sport, rain, eco. The ride is going to be the same, right? The shocks don't change as far as their dampening, preload, and anything like that. And I think that's what Max was saying when he was advertising for these, that that's something that you would want to have. You would want to have the ride to be standard, regardless of how the characteristics of the engine are and performance as far as sport mode and rain and so forth. So I'm kind of like a mixed bag with that, because sometimes I think I would like the cushy ride on the highway. But again, all in all, like, I'm happy with it. I don't think I'm gonna go back. If I ever do have to tear the bike down, when it's time to change the air filter, at that point I probably will think about going with the spring setup change on the original factory shocks and see if that does something. But it's a lot of work to actually take the bike that far apart, at least a couple hours to change the front shock. So I'm definitely gonna live with this. Yep. So I think I just about covered everything for today. I don't have any major philosophies. I try not to get into too much politics online. That's never really a good thing. Politics, religion. So I try to keep my own opinions to myself when it comes to things like that. So I hope this test came out pretty well. I'll check it out when I get home, just to see how the video recorded the phone that I'm wearing around my neck, to see if it's at least lined up. I can't really look at it and tell. I can't look at my watch and see it like I can with the other phone, because the watch is only synced to one of them. But if it does work, then you'll probably see a few more of these videos as I go out and share the road with you. Alright, so I'm pulling up to my destination. And I guess if there's one thing I could leave you with, I would say don't count the Lord out. This is here's an advisory, this is a religious message. Don't sleep on the Lord, right? So, Lord is faithful, He's just, and I think He is merciful. If you do, really, really cry out to Him, I feel like He will hear you. If you're earnest in your request. So, I guess that's it. I'm gonna end it. All right, everybody. Have a good day.